Gratitude and perspective. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, 2 months after the coronavirus entered the United States via China, let's not forget where it came from, it's taken the lives of at least 27 Americans and infected nearly 800. Now, these numbers will grow over the next weeks and months. And they probably don't tell an accurate picture right now because of our relatively small testing sample. We've already talked about this. We all know that businesses and workers are already beginning to hurt. Working parents are dealing with the disruption of school closures. I'm one of them. My kids are out for the next week, at least. Yet amidst all of the bad news, we have to keep our perspective. There is some good news. Our economy is the best in the world. Why? Due to the policies and the foresight of President Trump. He understands the importance, remember this, it's very critical to remember this at this time, of preserving strong nation states, namely our own. And this solid foundation, the resilience of our workforce, our ability to learn lessons quickly in these types of situations should give us full confidence that we're going to weather this just fine in the end. But imagine how much worse this situation could be right now if we didn't have a president who acted fast to stop travel from key high-risk areas.
Had we not acted quickly, that number would have been substantially more. We're taking this unbelievably seriously. The biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done.
And what if the Wuhan virus had hit after Hillary Clinton had won the presidency? If her handling of Benghazi is any guide, it would have been a nightmare. And certainly her economy would have already stalled if under her economic policies. Wouldn't have seen the economic growth we saw under President Trump. And what about if Sanders or Biden were president? Same problem, only worse.
Healthcare is a human right for all.
That's right. Yes.
Not just a privilege for the wealthy.
That's right.
And that we need to pass a Medicare for all.
Take on the existential threat of climate change. And, creating, in the process, we'll create over 10 million good paying jobs. Not $15 an hour, $45, $50 an hour with benefits.
Okay, if you believe that, more government control, shut down oil and gas. And as to how they would actually handle a coronavirus outbreak, do we really think they'd move to stop travel and shut down the southern border?
If you had to, would you close down the borders?
No. We have a president who has propagated xenophobic anti-immigrant sentiment from before he was elected. What we need to do is have the scientists take a hard look at what we need to do.
I'll translate for you. No, he would not. Bring in more Chinese. That's how we have to handle this problem. And after your tax dollars are used to develop a vaccine, a Sanders administration would have wanted you to cover the cost for everyone. Okay, but also for everyone across the globe.
When that vaccine is developed, obviously, it should be made free to every person in this country and, in fact, every person in the world.
Well, why not? And never content to let a good crisis go to waste, the left would use this health emergency to spend money on stupid programs. Any excuse to grow our already bloated government.
We had to talk about unemployment insurance.
We want paid sick leave and emergency unemployment insurance.
What they do need is paid sick leave.
All right. With Democrats in charge, we would apparently not be leaving our houses at all, at least not to go to campaign rallies. Let's be fair. Can't win, beat your opponent? Can't win? Well, order him or her to stop holding all rallies.
The Trump-Pence campaign will continue to hold rallies, given the fact that all these doctors and medical professionals are saying avoid large crowds.
He's not really doing what they're telling people, older people, to do.
The fact that he is not willing to cancel his various rallies suggests that he is willing to place even his most ardent supporters at risk.
Yeah, that's just what he's doing, Jackie. By the way, both Sanders and Biden canceled their own election night rallies tonight, and supposedly it was out of concern for public health and safety. Really? Was this done to save lives? or save face? The great socialist dream of the Sanders crowd was over even before tonight, let's face it. So why force yourself to address this embarrassment in front of the cameras this evening? And speaking of embarrassment, old Joe, he just needs to stay away from the microphones and perhaps take a nap. Beyond the partisan bickering and fear-mongering, now is the time for America to stand united. Preparation, not panic, is key to coping with this virus. If changes have to happen to our response, they have to be made, and they have to be made quickly. We all know by now that many of the CDC's early coronavirus tests were faulty. That was no doubt very problematic. Yet President Trump acted fast, and he cut through the FDA's red tape. Soon millions of tests will be available. Even Democrat governors who've said some really nasty things about Trump are now lauding his administration's response.
And we had a very long conversation, and every single thing he said, they followed through on.
I believe the agencies of the federal government are being very diligent in helping our state.
In times of crisis, it helps to have a president who makes his own decisions, who marshals the right resources, and surrounds himself with the most competent people to do the job. He doesn't give in to the bureaucracy, he bends it to be more nimble. He pushes obstacles out of the way and solves problems. He has a take-charge, hands-on approach to the coronavirus and every other problem he faces. He'll work with Democrats on a legislative package to help working families. He'll do for our emergency response system what he's done for our economy, make it stronger and better day by day. And that's The Angle.